Hi friends, so this will be my first ever video tutorial shape your brows. So I'm going to show you some tips and some tricks on how to do this without completely over plucking and without like losing your shape. So this tutorial is more so for people who already have somewhat of a shape and need to do a cleanup, but I will give you a few tips on how to do this if your brows have gone completely back to natural or you're starting off from scratch. And so I'm going to be using just 3 really basic, simple tools. First tool is you need a brush for your eyebrow hairs. So this one happens to be my Arbonne eyebrow pencil. Look, I always see the girls do this, but I don't know how to do that. So you may be able to see it or not. But this is my Arbonne brow pencil. And it's brow on one end and brush on the other. So you're going to need that so that you can brush your brows into place and just kind of see them in their full ungroomed glory. Now, if you're like me, you may have some sparse areas. You may have some areas that have grown in nice and thick. And you may have some areas that are kind of not returning to what they once were. And that's okay, which is why you want to sort of brush them just to see the state of the brow. All right, so that's one of your tools. You need some sort of brush to brush the hair into place. The second tool that you need is a short and sharp pair of scissors. Mine are curved just because that's the kind I have. Sometimes you'll find them in there straight. This step I'll show you at the end, but this one is really tricky, and if you're not comfortable, do not do this step. You still can walk away with really cute brows without doing the trimming. And then the most important tool is your tweezers. Now, this particular pair of tweezers I got from like the drugstore. It's a major brand, but the main thing that you want to be mindful of with your tweezers is that you need them to be sharp, and you need them, by sharp I mean you need for the ends to actually really meet. So if you look at this, you'll see that the edges come together. Sometimes when you have a pair of tweezers that aren't that great, the ends don't really come together, and so you find yourself sort of grasping at hairs and missing them and missing them and missing them. So tweezers, brush, and scissors, and of course a mirror. Now, some people will tell you like to go in and use a white pencil and draw over the hairs that you want to pluck, and that's you could do it that way, but I want to give you sort of like the easy way without a whole bunch of different products, and teach you how to, without a whole bunch of products, and teach you how to go through this just by using a couple of eyeballing tricks. The first thing that you're going to do is take a look at your brow shape, and what your guiding points should be is the corner of your eye. And you want your brow, the end of your brow, to be in alignment with the corner of your eye. So you can use a pencil, you can use your tweezers. You don't want your brow to go past the corner of your eye on the front side. And then you want to check the end of your brow, the tail of your brow. You don't want the tail of your brow to go past the outer corner of your eye. So that's how you kind of look to measure where you're going and how far you should pluck. And if you want to, you could take like a little pencil and sort of pencil in sort of like a hash mark, so you know. Don't go further than that. And that'll come off. It's just a little makeup. My brows naturally get a little thin right here, so I do not pluck the edges of my brows just because I need all that I can get. And when you get to that space too, I'll give you a couple of tips, because you want to be really careful about how you want to remove all those excess hairs right there. So you want to be gentle and go slow when you get to that part. The next point of measurement that you want to look at is the outer edge of your, I think this is called your iris, right? Yep, iris, I think. You want your arch, the height of your arch, to line up with the outer edge of your iris. That should be the high point of your brow. So if your brows kind of start going up here and you're like getting height here, you're starting too soon. You want your brows to go gradually, and you want your height to end here and start their descent. Okay, so that's your other point of measurement. So what you want to be thinking about is a gradual line, but it's going to be imaginary. This is why some people use white. So it's going to be an imaginary sort of gradual line from here to the high point. You want to follow the natural thickness of your brow so that you will know how to taper off. So if your brow this is the natural thickness of my brow. So I want to take it from the thickest point and gradually get thinner to the high point and taper off on the end as well. So let me, same thing on this side. I measure, look for the edge of where my eyebrow should stop. And again, the corners of my brow are really pretty sparse. And I want to look at the outer corner here. This is my thinner one. I want to check the outer side of the iris, and that's my high point of my arch. And then this one is a little bit skinnier, and it's a little bit sparser under here like the other one. So I tend to really be very careful in how much I take off on this side. So I'm going to start with the one that has the most new growth, and start cleaning up. I'm going to follow that gradual sort of incline right there. And I'm going to start in that open space. And I'm going to clean out that open space, but I'm not going to get close to where my actual arch is. I'm going to start out here, like, I kind of think of like a prairie, like out in the clearing where you know that you don't want your eyebrow hair. Start there, and then you're going to pull back, and then you're going to keep consistently checking. So let's start, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So now if you notice, I just plucked out that open space, and I stayed away from the shape that I'm going to fine tune. I just cleaned it up. And a lot of times, depending on, you know, how much brow you have that needs to be cleaned up, sometimes that's enough to sort of get you over. But I haven't groomed my brows in several months. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to really fine tune, and I'm going to get out some of the hairs that are closer. But yeah, so you can kind of start to see it taking shape already. And I cleared out some of this. I'm going to leave this a few hairs here because I want to, when I put on a little makeup, I think I want to leave myself with a little bit to play with. And this side, I'm going to clear out these wild excess hairs as well. Okay, so I have done the cleanup of the open space areas, and it already looks a lot better. So the next step, I think, for some people, you know, really you could stop here, because I guess it just depends on really how clean and how precise you're trying to go. So I'm going to take it like one more step further just to get a little closer and make a more smooth line here. So hold tight. Now, so here's the part where it gets a little bit tricky. Once you have gone in, I went in, I cleaned out all that space, and then I went in and I like cleaned up along the lines. There's a couple of things that can get tricky here that I want to give you tips on. When you get close and you want to get really clean, you're going to have a lot of fine hairs in there. So that's why it's going to be really important to have a good pair of tweezers. And the way that you get those fine hairs is that you want to use your fingers. You want to stretch the skin and you want to go in and you want to find those fine hairs and grasp them and pull outward. You want to make sure that you're pulling in a nice, quick but smooth motion so that you're getting the hair pulled all the way out from the skin. You should be able to look closely at it and almost see the root of the hair. Don't go against the way that the hair grows, because if you do that, you're gonna like get breakage and you're gonna have ingrown hairs on your eyebrow, and nobody wants that. So it may take a little bit of practice, but you want to pull the skin tight. Let me see if I can find one still hanging out. Here's one. So this little guy hanging out in the corner, you want to get him, pull straight out from the skin. And sometimes if you're like going after one, it may not come out. And so you got to go back in, get a good grasp, and then pull it all the way out. You can't really see it. Let me see, can you see it? It's fine, so you can't really tell. But when I look at it, I can see a little white ball, and that lets me know that I got it all the way out so that it will not grow back. Like if you shave your eyebrows, they grow back super quick. If you pull it and you snap it off, it's going to grow back just as quickly as a shaved eyebrow. So I got all those little fine hairs. Now, here's the tricky part where people get off the trail. When you start trying to fine tune your brows, I had a teacher when I went to learn makeup artistry. She said, eyebrows are sisters, they are not twins. And so what that means is do not frustrate yourself trying to make your eyebrows look identical. You're going to frustrate yourself and you're going to mess up because you're going to over pluck your brows. Get to a point where you find a happy medium where they resemble each other strongly, but that they are not twins. So what I like to do when I'm fine tuning is I brush my hair up to see that line. And I'm looking to see if the line is consistent and if it's gradual. And if it hits the high point where I want it to hit. And then I check the other side. Now, I'm not looking to see, do they look the same? Right now, I'm looking at each side to check to see, is the line gradual and is it sort of consistent? I always run into trouble right in here. So I have to be really careful because I got a little scar here and the hair grows weird. So I have to be really, really careful. And sometimes you'll see, like, you might pluck one hair and it's like, oh, that was the one hair that I needed. So go slow. So this is how you check. Brush those brows up. Look and see, is the line straight and gradual? And does a high point hit where you want it to hit? Straight and gradual. High point. I think I see one or two that I may want to go after. So I'm going to go in. Let me look. Yep. Here's one. And this is when you don't want to go grabbing a batch, 2 and 3 hairs. You're going after one hair at a time. Take your time. Just one at a time. And when you're looking in the mirror, zoom in, pull back. Are the sisters looking similar? I'm still on the right track. I'm going to get this one. And honestly, I think because I haven't groomed my brows in so long, I think I should stop here. The next and last step, or the next step, is that now depending on the direction that your eyebrows grow, some people, some of you guys, your brows grow downward, and that's okay. So you got to brush them down to check the shape. Some people's grow all over the place, and you got to like brush them and like hold it, brush it and hold it like that to check the shape. But when your eyebrows grow really long and they grow downward, which you want to check the shape from underneath, but what you're going to have to do is brush your brows down. And this is where it gets tricky, guys. Brush them down. And here, now you notice when I brush it down, it kind of, you see that those top brows get really long. And sometimes that's what makes the brow look unruly. Brush it down. Take your scissors. And you're going to slowly trim, following the guide of the shape from underneath. So all you've done is just taken a little bit off the top, as they say, so that when you brush your brow back up, they lay a little nicer. Now let me do the other side. The other side can be tricky if that's your non-dominant hand or your non-dominant side. Go slow. If you got curved scissors, turn it so that the curved side is up. Go slow. Only cut a couple of hairs at a time. You can brush down again and check and see if you got everything. It does not have to be, it's not a haircut from the barbershop, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to guide those hairs back into place. If you've got super long and curly brows, you may have to do the opposite direction. And especially like if you like to wear a pencil, or you can brush upwards and turn the curved side down. And you can trim the top hairs. Don't get too precise with the trim. I'm not going to cut more on mine because being that my eyebrows have some like sparse areas, I like a little bit of length to them because it will sort of lay over and fill in. Now this is the awkward part because you want to cut against the direction that they lean in. Do not cut right up against your brow line on top. Give yourself a little bit of space, a little bit of room. Just like everything else in life, a little bit of space, a little bit of room. Looking good. This one is a little bit thicker than that one, but it's the way it goes. And then finally, the cleanup in the middle. This brush does not want to stay put. Okay. Finally, the cleanup in the middle. Like I said, I don't get a lot of hair in between here. In fact, I tend to try to fill in a little here, but a lot of people do. I personally would rather have more hair here and be able to scale it back than nothing and have to draw it on. So again, check. Where does that need to line up, right? And then look for either the thicker hairs or the fine hairs. If you're starting in the middle, you can go ham. Get aggressive in there. Pull with the direction of the hair. So if you've got the kind of hair that it grows up here and down here, turn your tweezers up, pull your tweezers down to go with the direction of the hair. I just have to go in and just clean up all the like weird. Oh, I don't really have any, huh? Not much at all. So I'll leave it alone. May have disappeared with years of grooming my brows. But that's what you do in your middle. So start with the big part. Fine tune along the lines. Brush, trim, and that's it. There you have it. That's it. Let me know if you try it. Please send me a picture because I would love to see. If you feel like you need help and you're scared to go it alone, hit me up. I do one-on-one brow tutorials. I will walk you through this process and hold your hand step by step. Hit me up and we can carve out some time so you can get your brows back on track.